This is Olive, and I'm 11 years old, and I live in Southside.
This is Cooper, and I'm 4 years old.
This is Elena. I'm 13 years old and live in Spickley.
This is Julian. I'm 14 years old and live in Highland Park. And this is the Kidsburgh podcast.
Great to have you with us for the Kidsburgh podcast. We've got some exciting things to share with you today, so I hope parents, caregivers, and kids are all listening. I'm Kristine Sorensen, and I'm an anchor and reporter at KDKA-TV in Pittsburgh and a partner with Kidsburgh.org, where we're dedicated to helping you learn about the resources and advice from local experts to help all kids have the best opportunity to thrive.
I'm Melissa Rayworth, and I'm the editor of Kidsburgh.
And I'm Yu-Ling, Cheng, the director of Kidsburgh. And in today's episode, we're going to bring you some great financial advice for both adults and little ones. How to start saving, no matter what age you are. And you'll be shocked at the numbers that show how it pays to start early.
And then we spill the tea with teens. Teenagers ask each other, what do you think about saving for your future?
But let's start with one of our personal favorite hidden gems, the Pittsburgh Glass Center.
Every time I visit this place, I find so much inspiration. You see art along the walls as you walk in. You see the studios in full action. It's a great place, and they have amazing youth programs. So a couple ways that youth can be involved with the Pittsburgh Glass Center. They can be a part of the after-school program, which is maybe 10 to 12 sessions, and they have them for kids ages 11 to 15 or 14 to 18. And right now you could do glass blowing or flame working. You can also choose to do a one-day workshop, which is for kids ages 12 to 18. And it's like a sampler. You can learn a little bit about hot shop, flame shop, the kiln shop, right? Or if you're not quite ready for that, what I love is they have something specific for teens, and these are 2-hour workshops. And it is so hard to find something just for teens. And they only allow teens, no parents. And this is where, for example, you could do a stained glass dragonfly, a flame-worked glass fish. You could create mini mushrooms. It's just amazing all the work that they do and how much thought they put into creating a fun environment for kids. Lastly, I'll share they also do a Make It Now series, and this is something you could do with your kids. So you could do fused glass, blown glass, you could make a rainbow sun catcher, you could also make a lucky clover charm coming up, and these, depending on which class, are for kids ages 5 up or 8 and up. So I've taken my kids to some of these. We made a blown glass pumpkin for Thanksgiving last year, and it was really fun because all of us could do it together, and my cousins were there as well, and we just had a great time.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I didn't realize that there was Glass Center programming for kids that young. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I've also done a big family event there too. It was so much fun to all be able to create together. I think there's something really cool about glass because there's the chemistry of it where the sand is turning into something totally different that's molten, and then you see it harden. It's just a really exciting art form to see the process of it being created.
As you said, there are just 2-hour sessions you could do. If you're not sure your child is going to really be excited about this, or you will be, you can just sort of dip into it for a day and see what you think.
And they've had kids who have tried just a session just for fun. It's lit their passion, and they've become experts in this by the time they graduate from high school.
Pittsburgh is Kidsburgh. You're listening to the Kidsburgh podcast.
Well, glass can be an intimidating art form because the risks are great. You could get burned and the glass could break, but the rewards are big. Some people might see money the same way. It's intimidating if you don't know where to start, but the rewards for saving are really great.
Our interview with financial advisor Rob Wilson will get you excited to start saving, whether you're 5, 45, or 95 years old.
At Kidsburgh, we started to wonder how we could help kids and teenagers get excited about investing their hard-earned dollars and learn about finance and money at the same time. Lots of kids are getting an allowance or earning money from after-school jobs, whether it be from a part-time job at the local business or cash earned through babysitting. Today, we've invited Rob Wilson to join us and share insights on what teens and kids can do to set themselves up for future success. Rob is a financial advisor at an independent financial and investment advisory firm based here in Pittsburgh. He has been nicknamed Hip Hop's financial advisor because of his trusted work with professional athletes and entertainers. He joins us today to share financial tips that we can all be doing with our kids. Rob, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, we're excited to have you here, Rob. So tell us, first of all, what are some simple things parents or caregivers can do to help kids manage money, get excited about how they can use money, whether it's allowance or gifts?
Yeah, I think one of the first things that you can do that is very simple is just opening up a bank account for your child so they can start to see some of their allowance, some of the gifts that they're getting from family and other friends, and start to see that money accumulate, perhaps for a certain goal. Maybe they want to save up for a certain toy or to go see one of the new cartoon movies at the theater. And so I think that that's a great way to get them started. And even before maybe starting a bank account, you could just have a nice piggy bank in their room where they can start putting some change in there. And again, starting to see it accumulate will give them the idea about how you can sort of build up and save for goals over time.
I love the piggy bank idea because you can just see it grow physically. We also were thinking, kids and teens are often motivated to earn money and pick up after-school jobs, right? So this could be the part-time job at a local ice cream shop, or maybe an allowance that they're paid for helping with household chores, babysitting money, or even, refereeing soccer games. So we're intrigued, how can kids and teens actually start a retirement account with the income they earn and watch it grow? How does this work?
So this is a great tip that I think a lot of people may overlook, but there's something called the Roth IRA, which is a retirement account that pretty much everyone should have. But particularly when it comes to kids, I think it's important because there's actually no minimum age in order to open up a Roth IRA. Now, the caveat here, the catch, if you want to call it one, is that they do have to have some earned income. Now, for older kids, that could come from a part-time job where they're working at a restaurant or a store or something like that. But even for younger kids, it could be money that they're earning from their chores around the house that parents are giving them, or if they're going around the neighborhood and shoveling snow and cutting grass and getting cash for doing those tasks. So that is earned income that they can start to put into a Roth IRA. And now here's why this is particularly critical. The maximum that you can put into a Roth IRA is $7,000 a year. But what's great about that is that money will start to grow on a tax-free basis. So you can invest in companies that you know, and any capital gains or any dividends that you receive in the account will not be taxed. But it's also sort of a glorified savings account in that you can always take your contributions out without any taxes. Your contributions, not the gains, but your contributions can come out with no taxes or penalties. What's also great about this is that once your child gets older and they start to withdraw the money at retirement, that money will never be taxed again. So, this is really a way to help them supercharge their savings for retirement starting at a young age. So if I can give you a quick example of how contributing to a Roth IRA might work, if you started contributing $100 a month beginning when the child was born, and averaged 10% return on your investments each year, which is roughly what the stock market tends to give you over long periods of time, by the time the child was 18, that money would grow to over $60,000. Now, I would venture to say that even expensive as it's getting right now, the child could start off and have a good college options if they had $60,000 in the account by the time they were 18. But let's just say your kid got all scholarships. They don't need the money at that point. And so you decide to continue doing $100 into the account. Well, by the time they were age 30, those funds would have grown to $227,000. And if you just humor me and you say that the child decides to take those contributions over themselves and continue doing that, by the time it would reach age 55, they'd have over $2.8 million in the account. So I'd venture to say that that would be a great sort of start to their retirement if they had that amount by the time they were 55. So this is a great way to get your kids started.
Yeah, our eyes both just about popped out of our heads when you think about that number. But the key is really starting early, whether it's a Roth IRA or some other sort of investment for your kids. Is that really what you're saying?
It really is. Time in the market beats market timing. So the longer you have your money making money for you, the better off you are. And just to illustrate, if you guys thought that that was crazy, let's say some people have their own business, right? And they might be able to contribute a little bit more to their child's account. So let's say you did $500 a month. At age 18, under these same circumstances, 10% a year. Age 18, the child would have $300,000. At age 30, it would be $1.1 million. And again, if the child took up those payments at that time, kept doing it, you get 10% a year. At age 55, we're talking about $14 million in their account. And so, past history of the markets is no guarantee of future results. But what I can tell you, from 1929, the stock market's averaged, 10% a year. So if you can just do that and be disciplined and continue doing it over long periods of time, the numbers can really add up.
I love what you're sharing, and I just wish, like when I was a kid, that someone had guided me to do this, because
we all do.
Right. I was making money doing my part-time job. I played in a wedding quartet, and just thinking, like, this is such a great gift to do with your kids. It gives you a peace of mind for their future.
Absolutely. So we know that maintaining good credit history is important as well. It can help with buying your first car or taking out a loan, maybe even buying a house. Explain to us what is good credit and really how early of a child's life we should start thinking about that.
Yeah, so I think with all of the topics we're talking about in finance, the earlier you can start thinking about these things, the better off you're going to be. And so when it comes to credit, having a good credit score and credit history is important, because there will come a day down the line when the child is going to need or want to borrow money to buy a home, to buy a car, to fund their business ideas. And it's the folks that have the better credit scores and credit histories who are going to get the better rates and ultimately the better offers when it comes to those types of loans. So you can help your child start building credit very early by adding them as an authorized user on one of your credit cards. See, one of the factors that goes into a good credit score is the length of credit history. And so you can sort of game the system by adding them as an authorized user even when they're a minor. So some of the bigger banks like Bank of America and Citibank have no minimum age to add an authorized user to your credit card, and they will actually begin reporting that history to the child's credit report at the major credit bureau. So this is a fantastic way to help them get started building credit very early.
You are full of such great advice. My mind is spinning of things I need to do for my kids, which makes me think, what are other things that we should be thinking about when it comes to financial planning with our kids?
I think really helping them understand the value of a dollar and going out and working for it. And so I think having them do chores or advising them to maybe go out into the neighborhood and see what business they can start. And also with some of your gift giving, you can do this as well. So maybe instead of buying a toy that they're going to get bored with or clothes, you can maybe buy them a camera, for example, that they can then start to perhaps start a business taking photos or videos for other people in the community or other business owners. And actually, when it comes to investing, my company and I were actually launching a service where you can actually buy gift cards for the purchase of stock. So we think that this is truly the gift that keeps on giving. And so hopefully people won't have all of these gift cards accumulated in the drawer in their kitchen. If you give them something that they know that can actually grow over time, then they'll use it and then they can see that investment start to grow inside of their account. So I think those are a couple of great ways that you can get your kids excited about money.
Well, and that's the kind of thing even like maybe grandparents could constantly revisit with the kid. Oh, let's see how the stock is doing. Maybe something they know about like Starbucks or McDonald's, right?
Yeah, it becomes a really great shared activity. So even if you're in a long car ride and you see some of the cars that are going down the road, you can talk about how those companies are going. Or if you're in the mall, you can talk about how Nike is doing, for example, or Apple when you walk by the Apple store. So I think it makes it a great talking point, a great conversation starter that you can really use to not only build a relationship, but build their knowledge and education with regards to how money works.
And I love that you're taking this and making it normal and okay for us to talk about money as a family and to learn about it and to see how we can help our kids just be ready for the future. Rob, this has been really insightful. Thank you so much for all your advice and for talking us through kind of the logistics of how this works. We really enjoyed our conversation.
Same here. I'm glad I could help.
Thanks, Rob.
I found the conversation with Rob so interesting. And one of the things that really hit home for me was You often think that you have to be in your first grown-up job to start thinking about saving and thinking about retirement, but that is not true. You can start really young. And the numbers he shared proved it. If you start when they're kids, right, and they're doing their little side jobs of babysitting or soccer refereeing, and you save that money and invest it, they could be set by the time they retire.
Absolutely. And the numbers, honestly, I was blown away by what a difference it makes if you start even 5 years earlier, 10 years earlier. And that hopefully will inspire all of us to start now, no matter what age you are. You know, sometimes we're afraid to talk about money or it's uncomfortable, but it's really important to actually get it out there, be honest about it, because you can't do anything about it unless you're open and you're talking about it and you overcome your fears or your intimidation and just get started.
It's true. That is such good advice. I think often parents may figure if they're a little bit stressed about finances or there's things they still need to learn, it's not the time to have a conversation with their kids, but you can be learning together. I know my son who turned 18 at the end of last year, one of the things he really wanted for his birthday was some money to start investing because he wanted to learn how to manage his own investments. And so setting up an account for him once he was 18 was a priority, but I kind of wish we had done it when he was even younger.
And that's one of the things Rob talked about was you can talk about investing. And if you have a little birthday money, start using it towards investments. And you can use that as a place to have a conversation with your child about money. I think also what was great was the idea that you can help your child as well build credit history. And that's something I hadn't thought about before. I always just thought like later in life, they will get a credit card and they will start, but I can start helping them now by adding them to my credit card when I feel it's appropriate. And it's going to help them build that credit history and it'll make them more prepared later when they need to take out a loan, maybe to purchase a house or a car or something that they need.
You're listening to the Kidsburgh podcast.
Pittsburgh is Kidsburgh.
We've learned so much about why it's important to start saving for your future early, but is that something teenagers even think about? The students at SLB Radio's Youth Media Center spill the tea and ask each other, what do you think about saving for your future?
Well, like having a job and like having multiple ways to get money would be a good idea. Like it's harder to get a house now than it was like a bunch of years ago. So you have to work extra hard to get enough money to get like a house and like have a good job that can pay for that.
I think one of the best ways for students to set themselves up for financial success in the future is to experiment with moving money in low consequence ways. And my sister and I both just have part-time jobs right now, so we're not making extreme amounts of money right now, but just learning how to save what we have to start learning and preparing for when we have real jobs after college, as well as like we're starting to have to learn about big amounts of money, looking at big amounts of money when coming into college because it's so expensive, and figuring out how we're going to help pay for that, how my parents would help pay for that, how we're splitting up covering that cost.
I think about saving for the future. For example, if you're looking for a house or you want to get a car, then I think that's best. Like basically having discipline and knowing when and when not to spend my money. That's what I need.
I've actually taken a few personal finance classes, and I feel like it has become like a very important thing for me to be able to save for my future, to be able to move out, to get my own apartment. And I feel like with a lot of our generation, it is very important to find that security. And yeah, I think that's what saving can bring about.
From the Youth Media Center at SLB Radio, I'm Evan.
This is Olivia.
This is Travis.
From the Youth Media Center at SLB Radio, this is C.
This is Rocco. I'm in 7th grade and homeschooled, and this is the Kidsburgh podcast.
There was so much great info in this episode, and we have another great one coming for you next when we talk with a dietitian about how to help your whole family eat healthy. And we can show you how to burn off some of the calories having fun in area indoor swimming pools, even during the colder months.
And we'll be posting a dozen podcast episodes this winter. And if you missed our first 12, you can find them all on any podcast streaming service.
Or you can go to kidsburgh.org/podcast to find them all. And be sure to sign up for our free weekly Kidsburgh newsletter to find news stories and online guides that will help you raise the kids you love in the Pittsburgh region and beyond.
Thanks for joining us on the Kidsburgh podcast.